Hi, everybody. Earl here again with another episode of the Cryptopolitan podcast. And today our guest is the Web3 CMO, Joeri. How are you today?
I'm really good, Earl. I like to be on the other side for once. My name is Joeri Billast, like you said, the Web3 CMO of the Web3 CMO Stories podcast, and
Mm,
excited to be a guest.
fantastic. It's fun to switch seats sometimes, I guess. So, well, why don't we dive right in? Tell us about you, and then what are you working on?
Yeah, working on different exciting things, Earl. I'm a Belgian guy, and then I moved to Portugal in
Mhm.
August last year. And actually, I'm now launching here a Web3 AI retreat called Sintra Synergies, where Web3 AI founders come together, not
Mm.
only to network, to do workshops, but also, to get some wellness, to get, away from the daily grind, to go on a hike and so on, to really connect with each other.
That's fantastic. Actually, it's funny that this question that's coming up usually is, what do you do for fun when you're not in front of the computer? And a lot of the Web3 guys go, well, we're always in front of the computer, and sometimes it's good to get away, right? Like, so your retreat, you're taking a walk, is important. You need that time apart. There's balance, right?
Absolutely. And that's why I've started it, right? Because,
Hmm.
we're all busy, always online, always in front of the computer. And also on the other side, some people like to go to conferences, but conferences can be really noisy. You make a lot of connections and it's also overwhelming for a lot of people. But
Hmm.
going, on a place like Sintra in Portugal, a lot of
Yes.
nature, beaches, good food, nice weather. So a good place to connect because people lack community. They want to find their community, find their tribe, and that's what I'm building. That's actually my, if you call it, my superpower is networking and putting people together.
I like it. It's almost like an anti-conference. It's the opposite, right? So that's really
It's
cool.
it's the opposite. And so next to the retreat, what I'm really passionate about, I have my Web3 CMO Stories podcast where I'm supported by CoinDesk and by Rio. Rio
Mm.
is an interesting project from Japan. The Rio coin, they have their wallet. They are launching a meme coin, the Rio Chan, which has real utility. So interesting to find out about them. And another project I'm advising at the moment is Secrets Vault, and they have a solution to protect a seed phrase with an image because things
Huh.
can happen. People lose their seed phrase. Well, this is cryptography, and it's, I think, a really unique solution. So those are actually, in a nutshell, some of the things I'm doing. I love to connect people and to advise them and to create content like we are doing right now.
Those are fascinating projects. So, as the Web3 CMO, what are you seeing kind of like in the industry now? Like, where are people heading towards? Is it still same old where people build like community in Telegram and Discord, or are you seeing some different shifts happening in what you're looking at? Because traditional Web3 marketing was always just, okay, let's run a Twitter space, let's
I
get
know.
let's put our announcements out, let's build a community, let's let the community promote it, da 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 da. So what are you seeing that's a shift or something in the Web3 space as the Web3 CMO? What patterns are you seeing that are new and coming up?
Yeah, now, from my side, I would say, like that's why the reason why I am organizing this retreat right now, because
Mm.
people are a lot online, but there is a need for people, to meet other people in real life, to have the
Mm.
community, because there is, as you know, AI is there too. We see the trend of AI Web3 converging. People use a lot of AI to automate, and there is less. The human touch is a bit lacking, and I want to,
Mm.
I think it's important to do that. I see more like a need for people, I would say, to meet others in real life.
Yes.
And yeah, next to what you can call the Twitter Spaces and so on, this is still going on. But next it should be a good mix of both, I would say, online and offline, like we used to do also in Web2, in Web3.
Right.
I think we also need to be, yeah, take
That
it
makes
not
sense.
for
So just
granted.
just meeting just meeting people online is a good thing, right? And so but in person is also just as important. So that's cool.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think.
Oop,
And I And I think it's a trend that the human connection becomes more important than ever because of trends like AI.
Well, the other thing is that people are really looking for that human connection, right? Like this is why we do this podcast, right? We do this podcast to find out what everyone's working on. I mean, and it's nice, but then that human connection piece, right? Which is it's a good segue. You were talking about walks, you're talking about disconnecting, you're talking about nature, you're talking about community, in-person stuff, right? What do you do when you're not running your podcast? What do you do when you're not doing these things? What do you do for fun? What do you do for connection? What do you do for your personal gratification? I'm interested.
Yeah, so actually the things I'm doing for the retreat, like is going on a walk in my free time, that's what I'm doing too, right? So when I'm not in front of the computer, I like to go hiking in the woods in the nature of Sintra, going here to the beaches,
Mhm.
going out and meeting people and, going to an event. But it's for me, actually, I'm one of those entrepreneurs, that I'm passionate about what I'm doing. So if I go to an event in the evening and it's networking, I like that, Earl. It's not like for me,
Mm.
it's work, right? So my girlfriend always say, you're talking about work. Oh no, I really love what I'm doing. I love to be on a stage and to be a speaker. It doesn't feel like work. So that's something I also do. I'm speaking at different events as a keynote speaker, as a moderator. And I'm not in front of my computer, but yeah, I just like
But you're
it.
there in the people, right? That's really
I
cool.
like it. I like to be with people, and that's
Mm.
again. I see some people are more introverted, others are more extroverted. I have like the
Mm.
energy. I get energy from talking to people. Actually,
Fantastic. Well, I'm actually naturally an introvert. My background is computer science. I'm coding by myself usually, right? But then I switched one day. One of my mentors said, "Hey, you'd be really good at this," and that's like the opposite, right? Like the number one fear in the world is public speaking. So I got over it, but I'm trained to do it now. So I like what you say. You go to meet the people, you go speak on stage. That it's fun, right? And then you get that different experience. So it's almost like I'm a hybrid. I do both now, right? So some
yeah.
days I want to be by myself. Some days I want to see and talk to everybody, right?
You
So
need to see what is your superpower. I like to talk. As you see on my background, I've written a few books.
mhm.
One was a bestseller on Amazon, and the other one were with well-known marketers about Web3, about metaverse and so on. So
Yeah,
writing is something,
that's
I can do, but
cathartic,
it takes my energy, and
right?
therefore I like to talk. And now with everything that exists, you can transform voice into writing. So it will be
Absolutely,
easy to write a
absolutely.
book.
Well, I've been training my AI for what, almost a year and a half now, and it's starting to write better than it writes like me better than me on a bad day, right? So it's interesting. So if I'm having a bad day, the AI writes and it sounds like me, right? So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. The fact is that, if you don't have the patience to write a long email and you just give it like, the input and it
Yeah,
knows your voice, it can indeed help you go faster, yeah, with time.
absolutely. So cool. And then you like taking the walks. I don't know if you saw there was a study done where they did like brain scans, and they were doing the brain scans when the guy is just sitting at the desk, and then they do the brain scan when the person's taking a walk in nature, and it's like night and day, right? So it's interesting how the brain needs it, right? You start with you sitting at the desk, coming up with the idea, and then you go for a walk, shake hand, meet people, get out there into nature, and it's funny how that fills the other side, right?
Your brain is working differently, right? Indeed, it's what you were saying. So what I used to do, I'm still doing. I need inspiration, or I have a problem to solve, or maybe a
Mm.
proposal to write. I go on a walk instead of staying in front of my PC, and
Yes,
instead of staying 3 hours, thinking what to do and having no inspiration, go for a 1 hour walk and come back with fresh insights. It always works for me.
absolutely. No, I do the best of both worlds. I go for the walk. While I'm going on the walk, I just tell notes into my phone, and then the phone has other notes, and then I take the notes, and then I feed it to AI, and I go, hey, throw me some more ideas. And so you get kind of the best of both worlds, right? You get the best of sitting down, and you get the best of taking a walk, right? So makes it more interesting.
That's a good tip, Aaron. I've been doing that too. That I was with like a problem in my head. It was not really clear, and with the AI helps you. You can just, you know, talk to it, even if
Yeah.
it's not very structured, because my brain is not always very structured. But you give it enough input, and then you come back from the walk, and yeah, you get like the solution, which comes from you, but which is structured by the AI.
Exactly. So the best, like I said, the best of both worlds. The structure of the AI lets other people follow the thought process, you know. So, and then, the slides, you stick them in order and it starts to make sense. So that's
Absolutely.
great. Fantastic. Well, the next piece really is just like, what are you looking to build? Like, what kind of communities are you looking to build and where are you looking to build these communities? So, like, tell us how to get a hold of you. And then, like, where do we see your project list? Where do we see what you're working on? How do we find you?
Oh, yeah. Good question, because I am quite present online. So, as I have my background in social media marketing, so I have my website, my personal website, where you find my blog, all the projects I'm working on, which
Hmm.
is web3.net, which is actually Web3, but then in Dutch. It's an
Yeah.
English website, so it's WEBDR ei.net. That's my website. My podcast is the Web3 CMO Stories podcast. You can find it on Google, but also on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and everywhere. And then I love to connect with everyone on my main channel is LinkedIn, but you will also find me on X and on other social media channels. So reach out to me. I really love to connect.
Fantastic. And so, if we're wrapping it up, what kind of, like, parting words of wisdom? What have you got? Right? Like, what have you got for the audience? Something, a message that you really want them to hear, a message that you really want to relay. What kind of words of wisdom can you lay on the audience in terms of, Web3 CMO, anything that you want as insight?
Yeah, so just one thing that now comes up in my mind when you're saying this, because I started a podcast as you have your podcast, everyone starts from zero, but
Mhm.
what I say, bring your message, even if you think that no one is listening, there is
Mhm.
always someone listening, we get value from your message, and you never know what that message that you bring to them, yeah, will have as an impact in the future.
Right. So, and it's funny because, like, even if you're shouting into the void, right? You feel like there's no one watching but your mother, right? The funny thing is, the internet never forgets. So as you start to build these content pieces, like, I've had people, watch a video I made 8 years ago, and they go, "Oh, I just watched your video," and I go, "Which one?" And then they go, "This one." I'm like, "Oh my God, that's 8 years ago," right? And then they want to work with us, right? And it's interesting because, the content, once it's out there, it serves you forever, right? It's a long game.
It's a long game, and it's building up on each other, because you have different pieces, and you also build real estate, like you say, online, and it's crazy what you still can find
Yeah.
from people on the internet. Yeah,
Well, I like that term. We coined it, I think, like digital real estate, right? And
right.
you go and you claim your digital real estate, whether it's on social media, whether it's on organic SEO, whether it's on, whatever media you want to put it on. And as long as you put it out there and you continually put it out there, people will find you eventually, right? And like you said, people want to find their tribe, right?
They want, and if you have different ways of communicating, like we are now recording this video podcast, but if you have a blog or you post on social media, you go
Mm,
speak on stage, or you write a book, all these different pieces, are a reason or maybe a channel for people to hear about you or to reach out to you.
absolutely. What would you say to people who are aspiring authors? Would you recommend that they push forward and write the book? What kind of advice would you have for people who are ready?
My first book, it took like 2 years. I was stuck before I wrote it. And then someone said to me, but you're better in speaking. Why don't you just speak your book? And then I said,
Right.
okay, let's start to talk to my phone. And then the book was there like 3 weeks later because a
Nice.
copywriter, it was before AI, before the ChatGPT moment. But
Mm,
then my book was there. So it's just write it, just start writing the book. And yeah, you will get stuck, but then, it's an adventure on itself. And by speaking to other people about the book and creating some accountability to have someone
mhm.
coaching you, that really helps. And now you see it on the background. It
Yeah,
worked.
I love it.
Yeah.
So actually, it's funny. I did the same thing, right? So you're telling us here. Let me turn off my background for a quick second. You can see it behind me. Um, I have a book too. It's in the shelf over there, right? And I spoke it, like you said, I spoke it into existence. right? You talk your way through, because some people are better at speaking than writing. I'm the same, right? So I rather would talk my way through it. And so, like you said, I spent couple days talking to my phone by myself. You look like I look like I'm crazy a little bit, right? And then you transcribe it and then you edit it and bam, it's a book, right? So it's
Exactly.
fascinating how
Yeah.
that happens. That's really good advice. It's really good advice. Well, cool. Well, any other parting words of wisdom before we wrap it up?
Yeah, another part of wisdom would say if people, are scared to do something, I would say like just do it or just ask. If you say, oh, I want, they will say no. No, you just ask something like, for my podcast myself, I just asked people to come on or I just did it. Because I'm Belgian, English is not my native language.
Mhm.
I started it like, why would I do this in English? Because
Yeah.
Dutch, French, it's that's my languages I speak best. I said no, just do this. And now because of my Belgian accent in English, I go to the US. I was at Consensus in Austin. People recognize my accent. Oh, that's the guy
Right.
from the podcast because of my accent. So you see, you never know what is your strength, and a weakness that you think is a weakness can then become a strength. So that's my advice. Just do it. Just ask, and yeah, and don't worry too much.
Right. I love it. Just publish, right? And
Right?
don't wait. I think there's a one I wrote an article called "Perfection is the Lowest Standard." If you wait till it's perfect, it's never going to release, right? So just do it.
That,
I agree. Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate your wisdom. Appreciate your insight. I'm gonna go check out what your projects are, and connect with you online. And this ought to be fun. I'm actually gonna go find you on LinkedIn. So this ought to be a lot of fun.
amazing.
So thank you so much for being on the show, Yuri. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what you're up to.
Thanks so much, Earl. It was a pleasure.